Ultimate Piano Course by Joseph N. In this video, we're going to discuss rhythm and rhythmic drills, which will comprise the next 17 chapters of our book. First things first, let's discuss what rhythm is. Rhythm is simply the organization of various lengths of notes, for example, a quarter note followed by a half note, and those are all set at a specific tempo, which is the speed of the song. Now, on your piano, you may actually have a tempo button, and when you push it, you might hear an annoying ticking sound that won't stop, and it always goes the same exact speed. Now, this tempo button is also called a metronome. And the metronome is the device that helps us keep track of perfect time so that when we play our piece, we'll always have the correct speed and it'll always remain that way as we play. Now, not all pianos have a tempo or a metronome button built in, especially if yours is an analog piano like a grand piano or a upright piano. Those are not electronic at all. So for those, I highly recommend you get a phone app, something off the iOS store or Google Play. Many of them are free metronome apps, and this is my personal favorite, the Metronome Beats app. It has a very clean interface, and while there are ads, it's very non-intrusive along the bottom, and it's a very clean beat. So if I hit the button, you can hear the ticking sound, right? So as you can see, the number is set to 90. So what this implies is that it will be 90 beats per minute. So if there are 60 seconds in an entire minute, this is slightly faster than a second, right? If I were to change the number, now we're at 120. So now we are at 120 beats per minute, or 2 beats per second. Once you've set the tempo of your song, what you'll do is play the notes of your song and line them up with the beats of the metronome so that they'll land at the exact same time together. Then, what you have now is your song at whatever tempo you set at the metronome, always being played at that specific speed. So it maintains very even and steady tempo. Now, the number that I chose there was 120, which happens to be very popular. A lot of songs nowadays are written at a tempo of 120. But you'll have to refer to the actual piece that you're going to play to see what tempo range you're actually going to need to play it at. Many of them may be faster. A lot of them are going to also be slower. So you'll have to refer to that tempo written usually at the very top of the piece. Take a look at this rhythmic drill. Now, the first thing we have to know is how we're going to approach practicing it. It would be very fun to just jump right in, do whatever we want, but it would be very unwise because we wouldn't have rhythmic foundation and we wouldn't have any idea of really what rhythms we have ahead of time. Instead, what you should do is take a look at one line at a time. For example, the first line has a measure of 4 quarter notes, a measure of 8 eighth notes, a measure of 12 triplet notes, so that would be 3 per beat, and now a measure of 16 16th notes at 4 per beat. Once we know what rhythms are contained within, we can turn on our metronome. Note at the beginning of the piece, it says the tempo is quarter note equals 80. However, that's a little bit too fast for a first attempt, so we should try something more reasonable, like quarter note equals 50 or 60. Once you have your metronome set, listen to the beats and see if you can line up your notes to begin with. This exercise begins with quarter notes, which makes things much easier. All you have to do is play one note every time you hear a tick. But they must land at the same time. When it comes to practicing these rhythmic drills and later your pieces, your goal is to be extremely precise. Not just close enough to get it very good, but as perfect as you can, because you want to be able to replicate that at any time, anywhere. Now, how would I know if I've made a mistake? Well, for example, you could have fallen off of the tempo of the metronome. If the metronome is giving you 100 beats per minute, but you, for example, have fallen short and you're now landing too late, you're going to end up slowing down and causing problems within your piece. Another example could be you substituted a different rhythm in a specific measure, either because you weren't prepared or you read it wrong. Mistakes like these will pop up many times, so it's good to catch them when they occur and practice them as many times as you can to make sure that they no longer occur. An easy way to tell if you've got a section very good is to get it 3 times in a row perfectly correct. 3 times in a row means you have the consistency to make sure that you can play it at any time, anywhere. There are many other ways to approach practicing these rhythmic drills. For example, you can focus on the counting. Like on the first line, we can see all of the rhythms above each measure. Measure 2 has 1 and 2 and for all of the subdivided eighth notes. Measure 3 has triplet for all of the triplet eighth notes. And measure 4 has 1 E and a, 2 E and a for all of the 16th notes. You can add these rhythms on any other measure that has any of these types of rhythms, and you'll be able to apply them there. You can also listen to the exercises that will be performed in all of the following YouTube videos. All 17 of these exercises will be demonstrated in the next videos to come, so you can always listen to them there to verify that you're playing them correctly. Always try to count ahead of time if you can. If you can keep your brain ahead of your hands, you'll always be ensured that you're going to hit the correct notes at the correct time. Again, always start with your metronome at a slow enough speed. For example, as I mentioned, instead of a quarter note equals 80, try quarter note equals 50 or 60. And once you feel like you've really got it nailed at that tempo, you can begin increasing the tempo towards the goal of quarter note equals 80. Some other methods you can do is change the notes on the page so that you're playing different notes, improvising, while keeping the same rhythm. Another option is if you have a friend who can also play these exercises, have them pick a different line as you, and you play different lines of the same exercise, trying to focus on yourself while you're hearing other rhythms in the background. If you can keep your focus very well, then it means you have it very well down. Since this is simply the introduction to our rhythmic drills, we're going to keep this short and very sweet for our recap. Make sure you have a metronome device so you can always keep a steady tempo as you practice all these drills. Make sure that you also employ all of the various techniques for practicing these drills so you'll have the best end result, which means you're going to have to get it 3 times in a row perfect to show that you can do it consistently and keep that anytime, anywhere feel. Make sure that you practice all of these things and give it plenty of time for all of the drills as we move on to the next videos. And remember, you're going to see a demonstration of all of them in the following videos. And I'll see you then.